So I had this weird experience with I Know This Much Is True where I felt like that I really completed something with that. I felt like it was a full complete vision of something. I had such a great experience working with Mark Ruffalo and everyone on that team. Um, them came out during the pandemic, and I remember it was a very heavy show, and it came out during a very heavy time. And I remember I had many friends write me and say that they stopped watching it when the guy cut off his hand, and and he cut off his hand at a minute in. So I.
We all like going back in time and imagining how things could have gone differently. Like, what if I made different choices? Would I have ended up here?
It's been 6 months and still no leads on the whereabouts of the escaped convict known as the Roofman.
I was never very good at life.
Good morning, team.
Oh, no, don't be scared. Kind of like I was not good at hurting people.
Dwayne, get your coat.
I don't have one.
Are you serious?
Here. But I was good at seeing things. Details. Systems and routines.
A manhunt tonight for an escaped prisoner.
Find a safe place to hide for a few months.
He's a very smart individual, super intelligent.
You're just the man I want to see.
You like peanut M&Ms, right?
'Cause we're missing a lot. You have any idea why?
I just thought, they gotta be hiding somewhere.
I wanted to invite you to my toy drive.
We sell toys here, we don't give them away.
Wow.
I would like to introduce you to someone who made a generous toy donation.
That's so kind of you.
So, John, I understand you work for the government.
So it's a little classified, so.
I never knew we had an intelligence unit here in Charlotte.
Oh, are you law enforcement?
Yes, I am.
Wow, that's amazing.
Welcome to Behind the Lens. Today, Derek Cianfrance has made movies you know. Blue Valentine, The Place Beyond the Pines, Light Between the Oceans, HBO limited series, I Know This Much Is True, which is an Emmy-winning limited series. And he was nominated for an Academy Award for Original Screenplay for Sound of Metal. I got to ask you about that. And many other things. Now, Roofman, he is the co-writer and director. Please welcome Derek Cianfrance. Welcome. Thanks for having me. And we're going to go behind the lens now of, because that's what we call the show, of Roofman, which, I've talked to you a couple of times recently and talked about it in that it was totally unexpected for me coming from you, because your films generally are a little heavier and darker, and this one loosened you up a little bit, able to do it, right? Were you seeking something like that? I realized that I wanted to make something, and people need something. The world is tough. There's tough things going on, and I didn't really want to make escapism. Right. I wanted to make a movie about people. But I wanted to not fall into the trap of just going into the darkness, or fall into the trap of like just trying to make a homework assignment or something that was just overly about an issue. I wanted to make something that you could go on a ride and watch. And as I was searching for a movie, I was trying to think, like, what are those movies that I loved? How did I feel when I was coming of age in the 80s and 90s?
What are those movies that you loved then? Inspirations here?
There's so many, for this movie in general. This is a hard movie to find a direct inspiration for, but there's like Tootsie, or there's Mrs. Doubtfire, or the Frank Darabont movies.
Shawshank.
Just movies that kind of, when big, Cameron Crowe movies. And then you go back a little bit to like Hal Ashby movies and Altman movies, where like there's these ensembles and they feel kind of loose and they feel kind of alive and they feel like there's a possibility of what movies could do.
And we don't have them much anymore, particularly from a major studio. This is Paramount Pictures. So this is a rare bird that's in a total original
and no, IP or any of that.
Yep. It was, and trying to get this movie financed was the thing I kept hearing was, we don't make movies like this anymore. And I kept saying, I want to make a Frank Capra style movie.
Yeah.
And I would hear we don't make those. I was like, this is
I thought you were going to say, who is Frank Capra?
No,
I want
no,
to know
exactly.
that person
No,
because.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, thank God.
I just heard we don't make those. But thank God, Paramount and Miramax and High Frequency Films all said yes, and we just scraped by, just had just enough to get this movie made and to do it the way I wanted to do it, by building a toy store down at, by revamping a Toys R Us down in North Carolina. We shot it on film. We shot it down in the locations where it all happened. And
why did you choose to shoot it on film? Because so many directors are using digital now.
Well, I like digital. I'll always shoot digital for the right story. This took place in 2004. The digital formats that were around in 2004 weren't around, aren't the ones we have today.
Right.
So, if I was to shoot it on a digital format that was authentic to the time period, it would be like SD. And I love a lot of SD movies. There's like The Celebration, there's Julian Donkey Boy, there's the great Radiohead documentary, Meeting People is Easy. But this needed to be more of a polished thing, and it needed to have that elegance that only film could bring.
Yeah.
And
it looks great.
Because we're shooting also big box stores, and we're shooting McDonald's restaurants, and we're shooting things that maybe if you just shot and it looked like hyper reality, it wouldn't feel as special. What I love about film is it creates a magic. It creates a luster to things. Yeah. And also what I love about film is what it does to actors, because you have a ticking clock on film.
Right.
It's like 11 minutes and the film runs out. And to me, I love sports. I watch Denver Nuggets. Like I watch every dribble of Denver Nuggets basketball every year. That's my cinema, really. Yeah. But when those players, Nikola Jokic has, a shot clock, or he's got a quarter, he's got 12 minutes, you got to get some points on the board.
Right.
And to me, what shooting on film does is it creates urgency with the actors.
Yeah.
And all of my movies are defined, I think, by the performances.
Yeah.
And so I wanted those actors to be very alive and very spontaneous and very urgent.
You're definitely an actor magnet. There's no question, with the cast that you're able to put together in these films and the stuff that you do, and this one too with Channing Tatum and Kirsten Dunst. They're great. This is such an incredible true story, though. I didn't know anything about it. And when I'm looking at this movie, I'm going, what? Nobody would believe this if you just sat down as a writer to write a piece of fiction and this was your product. This would not be believable. But it is a guy who goes out, has a family, and just feels bad about he can't provide for them. So he goes nightly robbing McDonald's, putting a hole in the roof of McDonald's, going down in the middle of the night, robbing the cash register. And he did this 45 times before he got caught and sent to prison for 45 years. Except he wasn't there that long. He found a way out, and then he lived in a Toys R Us store for 6 months. And then assimilated himself into a community. When I talk about this, it sounds incredible.
Yes, it is.
But this is 100% true.
Yes, it's... As I first heard the story, I was really drawn to these contradictions of this character, right?
Yeah.
He would rob these McDonald's, he would put people in a freezer, the employees in a freezer, but he would make sure they had their jackets. He would, when he escaped prison, he didn't hide in the forest and eat grubs and rainwater. He hid in the Toys R Us and ate baby food and peanut M&Ms.
And for 6 months, creating his own little world there.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have, and when I first started talking to the real Jeff Manchester, there was a moment where I was like, is this guy telling me a tall tale here? Because this sounds, good storytellers embellish.
Right.
And I'm sure he embellished some of it, but it was important to me to talk to the real people in his life.
Yeah.
And so I talked to anyone that would talk to me. I talked to his mother. I talked to his brother. I talked to the police that arrested him. I talked to the judge that sentenced him to 45 years. I talked to the prison truck driver, who was actually the prison truck driver in the movie who drives the prison truck.
You actually cast the real guy.
I cast the real guy.
And you did that with a few other.
A lot of people that were actually in the story, in Jeff's real story, are in the movie playing various versions of themselves or other people. But it was when I talked to Lee, his girlfriend, and Ron, the pastor of the church, that I realized what the tone of the film would really be, because I expected them to maybe have some anger towards Jeff or some bitterness towards him or feel betrayed.
Yeah.
And they talked about Jeff as if he was a unicorn that appeared in their lives.
Yeah.
And they had...
It's like Peter Pan.
Yeah, he's Peter Pan. Exactly. That's Jeff. That is Jeff. But Peter Pan, who made some really bad choices, and
he's a combination of incredibly dumb and unbelievably smart and clever.
Yeah. I think the thing is like, if there's a line that Lakeith Stanfield tells him, he was like, good criminals are cold and calculating.
Yeah.
And he says, you have the calculation part down.
Yeah.
And what Jeff's fatal flaw to being a great criminal is that he has this heart and he has this humanity.
Yeah.
And he has this warmth. And if he didn't have that, if only he didn't have that, he would have gotten away. And I think it's an interesting story to tell in this day and age, where someone's humanity is the thing that gets them caught, but also can save them and get them some redemption from these people.
So you talked to him
hundreds of
times.
Hundreds of hours.
In the prison, because you can only talk like 15 minutes at a time, I guess.
Yeah, correct.
And every time he gave you new material and...
Yeah, I mean, he calls me. He still calls me. I try to answer whenever...
He's hoping for a sequel.
Well, yeah. I met one of his sisters last night and his family, and they were very touched by the movie. And it's actually, the movie has brought that family closer together, which I think is the greatest thing that the movie could do.
Right.
But it was interesting talking to Jeff. I would pick up the phone. I will pick up the phone when he calls, and he'll say, how you doing tonight, Derek? And I say, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Jeff? And he'll say, oh, craptacular. And then I'll ask him a couple questions, and he'll call me Dr. Derek, and he'll start to tell me his life. And I think it's been therapeutic for him to tell his story to me, and to my co-writer Kurt Gunn, and I think it's been just good for me to hear from him. And I've definitely developed a connection with him, as I've developed a connection with all those people in his life, from the sergeant Catherine Scheimreif, who arrested him, to the SWAT team, to the correctional officers. It's all been this weird, messed up family story of these people who all connected in this community. One thing happened on the red carpet in Charlotte last week. I was on the red carpet with the police and with a bunch of ex-cons, because all of the prisoners that play prisoners in the movie I cast from a men's group of ex-prisoners. It was amazing to be on the red carpet with with cops and robbers.
Wow.
Basically. And I think that's maybe what this movie is.
It's hard to describe. When you see it, I'm just rooting for the guy, I mean, it's got that feel. When you say Capra, it is Capra-esque, because it's small town America and it's church and America and all of that that he assimilates himself into.
Yeah. It's Christmas.
It's Christmas. It's Christmas. I know, it's all of that. So it's really cool in that way. And your cast, I mentioned Channing Tatum could not be more perfect. When you see this, sometimes you see a movie and you go like, I can't imagine anybody else once I see that actor doing it. Was he always your first choice?
I didn't know who it was. I had Jeff in my mind. I had the real Jeff in my mind for the first 3 years. And then I got to the point with the script, Kurt and I got to the point where we thought, okay, we're pretty good. Like, the script is working now. We need an actor.
Right.
And there's a couple actors I was thinking about, and I had a meeting with Channing Tatum in Prospect Park in Brooklyn. And I went to the meeting point. He wasn't.
And you had tried to cast him at one time in Blue Valentine,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I first saw him in Guide to Recognizing Your Saints, and the first image I saw of him in Guide to Recognizing Your Saints was, I only saw it once, but he was like walking down the street. He had his shirt off or he had a vest on or something.
Yeah.
And the way he moved, his body was like beautiful. And the way he moved, it looked like Gene Kelly. It was like this dancer's body. And then I tilted up and looked at his face, and it was like a boxer's face. He looked like Brando, with a broken nose. And
Amazing.
I was like, here's this image of this man who's like this wounded, beautiful masculinity. And then from there, he went on to be like romantic leads and amazing action lead and comedy. His comedy roles, he has some of the most iconic roles in all of comedy movies, in the last 20 years. And then at the same time, he's like courageous enough to do like autobiographies of his life as a stripper.
Yeah.
And I was just like his hugest fan. And my wife and kids, we always watch movies on Friday nights, and when my kids got a little older and like teens, it was always hard to find a movie to watch.
Yeah.
But whenever there was a Channing Tatum movie, we could all agree, let's watch that.
Oh,
because my wife wanted to watch it, my kids wanted to watch it, I wanted to watch it.
So there you go.
And I felt
He's
like
that kind of guy.
Yeah, he's that kind of guy, and I think it's his like authenticity and his ability to kind of do all these genres. I don't know if there's a lot of people that can do all that. And when I met him in the park in Prospect Park, I didn't mention the movie to him once. I spent 6 hours with him and just got to know him as a man. And I learned that his daughter was the most important thing in his life, and that related to Jeff. I learned how hilarious he was in real life.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of other things about him. I went back to the script called Kurt, and I said, I think it's Channing. And so Kurt and I spent the next 9 months writing all the words, listening to all the words with Channing's voice in our head.
Yeah.
And 9 months later, gave him the script. He signed up and said yes. And it was an easy decision, for me to choose him. And when I see the movie with him now, I'm like, as his friend, I'm so proud of him. And as like an audience member, I'm just in awe.
Yeah.
Of what he can do on the screen.
It's amazing too, and what I love about your movies, you're really true to authenticity. You really like make sure that you're not faking out the audience. It's there on the screen, whether it's the characters or in this case too, it's the locations. I mean, that Toys R Us, those are closed, so that you can't just walk into a Toys R Us. And you found an old one, right?
Yes, we found an old one. I wanted to shoot in the real one that Jeff lived in, but but that one is now a mega church. And I did use the band leader from the church, this great guy named TJ, to do the band orchestration for the band in the church. The church that we shot in the film was the actual church where Jeff met Lee. That was actually where it happened. But the Toys R Us was about 20 miles away in a place called Pineville. When we first walked in there,
this was in North Carolina.
In North Carolina. Yeah, shooting in North Carolina cost us more money. Shooting on film cost us more money.
Did you insist on North Carolina?
I didn't. Yeah, I mean, there was some people saying South Africa. You can build everything. Your dollar's going to go so far there.
Right.
You can do anything you want. Build it all on a stage. And I was like, but where's the people? And part of my job in this movie was to be an investigator,
right?
Like an emotional investigator. And if I knew if I planted myself in North Carolina, I would meet people. And they did. They started coming out of the woodwork. Oh, I was there. I knew Jeff. Oh, I was in the freezer. He was, I knew him in his cell. Anyway,
that's amazing.
We built that toy store. It was an empty cavern. It was just like no tiles on the floor, no light bulbs. All the copper had been stripped. And my production designer, Inbal Weinberg, was like, this is crazy. But we persevered. She persevered. She had a great team down there. We built it one tile at a time, one fluorescent tube at a time, one shelving unit at a time, and one Tickle Me Elmo doll at a time.
You really stocked it.
We stocked it.
I mean, because you're shooting a lot, there's a lot of coverage in there, as they say in the business. And,
we could have shot anywhere. And that was what was important to me, was like to create an aquarium.
Right.
And I promised Channing that when he came down to North Carolina, I would have a toy store for him. And I didn't want to, I'm not the kind of filmmaker that can just shoot this way if this way isn't, if this way isn't real.
Yeah.
The authenticity is very important to me because I want to immerse myself. And this movie is the story is so crazy, so larger than life, so stranger than fiction that the key to all movies is suspension of disbelief.
Right.
And I need, as a director, I think part of my issue is like, when I'm on set, I need to suspend my disbelief.
Yeah.
I need to believe it's actually happening. So if I'm in a toy store and it's a full toy store and Channing Tatum is in there and he can play, all of a sudden magic starts happening and he appears around the corner. He's wearing a pair of Heelys and a pool floaty and a teddy bear on his neck and sunglasses on. And I didn't write that. I didn't come up with that.
I know.
He found it.
And that's the image they're using on the poster, which is hilarious because it makes it look like some wacky, comedy. But that is actually what this guy did.
Yeah. Well, Jeff didn't actually when Jeff saw that poster, he's like, where'd you get that idea? I was like, I built a toy store. Channing found all that stuff, did it, and I shot it. And Jeff said, that makes me really happy to hear because when you live in a toy store for 6 months, you connect with your inner child. And I'm glad Channing had an opportunity to do that.
It's so amazing when you see this movie, the innovation this guy had in able to live there and really, get out into the community through a circuit city that was closed next door, and there was a hole in the wall and he could go back and forth and nobody knew he was living there. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, one of the ingenious ways that he got out, he would actually leave through the Toys R Us because and we shoot the scene in the movie, there's those door alarms, and if you open the door, it disconnects from itself. And he had this simple solution. He unscrewed the screws, taped the bottom sensor to the top sensor so he could open the door and it wouldn't move. And when I went to the original Toys R Us, the church that was his Toys R Us, I went to the back door and I saw that sensor that he had taped with one screw out and another screw that was turned one time in.
Wow. That's amazing.
And I told the people in the church, I was like, come back and look at this. This is the police missed this part.
Wow. That's amazing. And he also found a way to turn off the security cameras.
Yeah.
So that he was so smart.
And start his own and
create his own camera so he could watch what was going on in the store during the day when he's there.
Yeah, which I thought was an amazing opportunity cinematically to kind of watch a TV show. Watch TV. It's like it was a daytime soap for him.
Yeah, watching that's how he met the girlfriend and everything. She was working there and he liked her.
Yes. Well, in the movie, this is one of the cinematic truths of the movie.
Yeah.
In real life, Lee worked at an auto mall right next door.
Right.
And he met her at church. But when you have Kirsten Dunst in your movie, you want to get her as close to the beginning as possible. Exactly. And this movie has a very funky structure.
Yeah.
The way it starts with his initial family that he's trying so hard to provide for.
Yeah.
When he gets stripped from that family, and he needs to find this surrogate family because he can never be back with that family again. And so I just wanted to get Kirsten in as early as possible because she's
so good. She's just so real.
I know.
And
I think she's one of the finest actors on the planet.
She really is. She's been around forever.
Yeah.
You knew her as a child actor. Yes. And, she's one of those that is just growing into this incredible screen performer. There's no question.
And it's remarkable how normal she is.
Yeah, she totally is.
What a regular salt of the earth person she is. She blows me away.
Yeah.
Because as an actor, she's unmatched.
Yeah.
I don't know how she does it. How she's like.
And I should say Peter Dinklage is great too, as the store manager, who's a total asshole. But he's so fun and funny and perfect.
Yes. You speak about the casting. This movie was cast by Bonnie Timmerman.
Yeah.
It was a legend. She did the original Miami Vice series, Karate Kid, Last of the Mohicans. I started working with her for the first time on I Know This Much Is True there's a great documentary about her out there called Bonnie, all about her casting process. But she's just a legend, and she had this way of like bringing in all of my favorite people and saying, well, what about Lakeith for this?
Lakeith Stanfield.
And what about Peter for this? And these are ideas that I never would have thought of, and she just she brought them to the table, and to me it's just like the best group of really unique people. I think I was thinking when I was starting to shoot this movie, I was thinking about the island of misfit toys. You know, with Rudolph and all the like really unique one of a kind toys that are just magical.
Sure.
And I was thinking that this movie, the cast is kind of the Isle of Misfit Toys. Everyone is Rudolph in this movie.
It really is. And you've just done a great commercial for the Academy, because this is the very first year they have a casting category.
Oh, yeah.
For the Oscars. And it's a lost art on people. They don't really understand what the casting director does. Works very closely with the director.
She's my main partner for months and months and months before I shoot a movie. And even as I'm shooting the movie, she is the person who's building the DNA and suggesting and setting up the meetings. And there's no one on the planet that I've ever worked with that works harder than Bonnie. She's like 1,000% work.
That's so cool.
And yeah, she'll call me at 2 a.m. sometimes and text me at all hours of the night with an idea, because she loves movies so much. I cherish my time with her.
You know, when people look at your filmography, as I mentioned when I was introducing you, Blue Valentine, you know, that was, you know, that came out of people go like, whoa, who did this movie? You know, and that was another one where you like really relied on those actors, Ryan Gosling, Michelle Williams, and worked with them for a long time.
Yes.
Right. I mean, before they ever a camera rolled.
Yeah, for sure. Years and years.
Which is so unusual.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was not necessarily designed that way. It was just the way the universe mapped it out for us. There was a lot of different starts and stops on that film. And I felt cursed for so many years. But finally, April of 2009, I was on set and I had Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams. And when I think about those two actors, they gave me a shot. Both Ryan and Michelle both believed in me. The only reason I'm here is because Ryan and Michelle said, we see what you see.
Yeah.
And, you know, what Blue Valentine was, I wrote 66 drafts of that script. I storyboarded 1,224 storyboards. And then I got to set, and it was Ryan and Michelle, and I was like, I have watched this movie in my head every year. I've watched it alone for 11 years. And now I have these two beautiful, magical people.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm throwing away my storyboards. I'm throwing away any of my preconceived ideas of this film, except I'm going to shoot half of it on film. I'm going to shoot half of it digitally.
Yeah.
I'm going to have some rules, but I would just watch them blossom and thrive and be magical. And, you know, made me really realize as I was making that film that actors, you know, my love of cinema when I was a kid growing up, it was always about actors.
Yeah.
Without actors, where do you have narrative films? And what I realized there as a director, I had all these grand ideas of the films I wanted to make, but without an actor believing in me, I was nothing. You know, I was just, they were tufts of smoke. And so Ryan and Michelle believed in me, and I'll always be forever indebted to them for all they gave on that film. And sometimes I pop back and like watch it, and it feels like I'm seeing all my old friends, you know. And one of the things on this movie that was interesting, I cast my entire crew was the Blue Valentine crew on Roofman.
That's interesting.
Cinematographer Andre Perec, the production designer Imbal Weinberg, Aaron Bennett, costume, all my producers, Jamie, Lynette, Alex, my editors, Jim Helton, Ron Patane, the on-set still photographer, Davi Russo, hair and makeup, Bobby Deal, Leo Wan.
That was all intentional.
I wanted a reunion. And I wanted a reunion. I mean, I was entering my midlife, and instead of buying a Ferrari, I built a toy store and made a film reunion.
And brought a Blue Valentine. Who knew this? I didn't know that. That's wild.
I brought them in. We were all young and scrappy and like starving artists, and we were like off Broadway. And we just so desperately wanted to be on Broadway. And so now we had this chance all these years later to make another honestly off-Broadway production, because this movie had to be very scrappy. We shot it in 35 days with 2 stolen days, but it was that spirit of that crew. I knew that they could do it, and I knew we'd been through it together.
Yeah.
We had to just reconnect with that side of ourselves that was like curious and fighters, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. Yeah.
That's great. And Blue Valentine, I kept thinking, you look at classic movies and things and pairings like that. I was thinking when I was watching that the first time, Jack Lemmon and Lee Remick in Days of Wine and Roses.
Oh, I love that movie.
What Blake Edwards was able to.
Yeah.
There was a director, he
That
could
was
do
incredible.
wacky
Yes.
comedy and then go do this kind of thing.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. But that's what I kept thinking there. And Place Beyond the Pines also with Ryan.
Yes.
And Bradley Cooper and
another dream cast.
Incredible cast, yeah. And the first time I saw that a couple of times. The first time I saw it, I didn't know what I was seeing. It was one of those things where they tell you, we're going to show you a movie and just sign an NDA and all of this. And so I saw it that way, and I go like, wow, this is like a novel. It's like,
yes.
You don't know where it's going, which is the way I love to watch movies, and the way you like to make them.
Me too. Well, you came into Roofman completely blind
Completely
too, right?
blind. I mean, I was looking at Roofman when I'm watching it and going like, did McDonald's okay this? Because this is like, did they have to? Or
you'd have to. The lawyers, our production council said we were good. So I trusted them.
I mean, you're showing this guy who figured out how to rob them nightly. It makes them look kind of stupid, that they couldn't find.
Well, yeah, but it also makes him look kind of stupid in the way he got caught. And ultimately, it's a cautionary tale.
Yes.
If you can't afford a house for your family, you should not rob McDonald's. I think that is the ultimate message of this movie.